Streams are good?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. I'm Jen Sanasi.
And I am Sam Ewan.
Sam, lovely to see you here in the Middle East.
Here we are in Dubai.
Here we are for Binance Blockchain Week
Absolutely.
in Dubai. I am looking forward to learning about all of the innovation development that's happening in the blockchain world here. But first, let's talk a little bit about Binance Blockchain Week.
This is my first one.
This is my first one, too.
There's a ton of energy. I'm seeing so many sponsors. There's a bungee jumping activation in the middle that I'm thinking I have to go on. There's a slide. There's so many things happening. It's going to be a great time.
Okay, so if Sam does the bungee, I will video it for all of you watching, and you can find that on social media, because I think that that is something that our audience needs to see, Sam.
You know, with the way the day's going, I'm going to start it with a bungee. Why not?
Let's start it with a bungee. Yeah. All right, so we have that to look forward to. For our audience at home, just giving you a little bit of information on Binance Blockchain Week. It is the flagship event for Binance. It connects global industry leaders, builders, regulators, investors, and Web3 pioneers right here in the United Arab Emirates. Sam, this is an interesting jurisdiction to be in, because for a long time, there are a few different regions that have been battling out for the Web3 hub name, but Dubai has done a lot to secure itself as one of the major global Web3 hubs.
100%. They have put in the infrastructure that allows this to really thrive. They are creating the opportunities for new startups to come in, helping them with funding, office space. You can tell when you're walking around, there's a lot of crypto here. Mm-hmm. And from we were speaking, I think it was last night, that the low income tax, the low barrier to getting a visa, all of those make this a very attractive place for like startups and builders to come in. It's also super safe and wonderful. So it's like, why not be in that space? If we can be there. So I think Dubai is a really, really exciting moment right now in crypto. Tell me how you think it compares to somewhere like Singapore, where we recently were.
Well, I just want to say, you said low income tax. It's actually no income tax, no capital gains tax. Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring up Singapore. Like, you and I have been to a lot of different Web3 hubs. Web3 hubs for different reasons. When I think about Dubai, I look at the initiatives that are led by the government, that have been led for the government for years, that we see in action. And it's really interesting. I think it really differentiates the region. One of them is Dubai's blockchain strategy. So the government is focusing on implementing actual blockchain technology to make their government operations more efficient. Wouldn't we all love that, for government operations to be more efficient?
From your mouth to God's ears, yes, we would love that more than almost anything else.
There's also the D33 economic agenda. Yes. This was launched in 2023 here. And the goal is to significantly increase the digital economy's contribution to Dubai's GDP. That launched in 2023. And so I think it's a nice reminder that as much as we talk about what's happening in the United States, the government's involvement in crypto in the United States, it really has only been progressive in the last year, when regions like Dubai have been thinking long and hard about this for much longer.
Agreed. And we were looking at some stats earlier, which I thought was really interesting, which is Dubai, I believe, is the 7th largest crypto market overall. It had about 336 billion in inflows in the last year. They also have 500,000 daily crypto traders. So there's a tremendous amount of people who are coming in, who are trading actively in the space. There's about a 42% year-over-year growth in them in Dubai attracting more crypto inflow into the marketplace. So I think this is just one of those places, like we saw in Korea, like we saw in Singapore, where the growth is just up and to the right.
These will be very good at blocking out sound.
And you and I have been to, I think there are more and more events happening here in Dubai, just like this one, that are bringing leaders not only from the Middle East, but all over the world here to look at how they can contribute and do business. And so I don't know. I think our conversations are going to be good. As always, I'm interested to hear from a regulatory perspective what recent laws mean for companies and builders here in the region, because I think there's like a little bit of a misconception when it comes to regulation and law that, when we have regulation, it has to be lax for things to work. But in places like Singapore and Dubai, the regulation isn't lax. It's there, and people know how to operate within it.
For sure. And look, this is a vibrant hub. The main stage is just kicking off, so we
can hear it for sure.
We're going to see a lot of, and we're going to talk to a lot of the folks who are going to be on the main stage. So what I'm really excited most is to talk to the people who are building in the region and also understand why the region is so popular. I think we even have a couple of those folks with us to kick off the day with us.
Let's get to our first guests right now. Cello Chief Operating Officer Liz Pang and Binance Global Media and Content Lead Jessica Walker. Hello to you both.
GM, so happy to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy show day.
Yeah.
So exciting.
We can hear things kicking off on the main stage. Here we are. Things are just getting started.
Yes.
We saw the bungee cord, transformers, crazy tunnels, lights everywhere. Talk to us a little bit about what we can expect over the next 2 days and what you're both looking forward to. Jessica, we'll start with you.
Maybe you should start with the booth, first of all, for the CeeLo booth, and then I'll run through the agenda and show.
Yeah, happy to. We're sort of dead center in the space. This sort of Cello ecosystem is here, present, very much alive. I know you'll speak with Renee Reinsberg, our Cello co-founder, Cello Foundation president in Jorgen, one of our close partners, EVP of Mobile at Opera, a publicly traded company. We're excited for a really awesome announcement that you'll speak to them about later. And just, being here, being with so many different people at this really dynamic intersection, just hearing all the stats you're sharing about Dubai, about sort of this hub, is just, really wonderful to sort of be here and to sort of partake and participate in this really exciting sort of economy.
And this year, really, from the Binance side of things, is just all about community. So as you've mentioned, we have the bungee jump, we have the slide, we have the innovation stage, we have all of these activations and workshops going on, amazing booths and exhibitions by our sponsors. Yeah. But then the main stage is where the real party is for everyone that's also watching at home. So the theme this year is building forward, so it's looking at where the industry is headed. But I think what makes this conference so special is it's not just Binance and BNB centric. We have Michael Saylor on the main stage in just 20 minutes. We have Tom Lee tomorrow talking about Ethereum. We have Brad Garlinghouse, Lily Liu from Solana. We have all of these different ecosystems that come under one roof because everyone's portfolio is mixed. No one just holds one token unless maybe you are Michael Saylor, but everyone likes to look at different updates and ranges. So the two stages that we have are really driving these conversations forward. So we're really excited. We hope everyone has a great time. And then we're ending things with CZ and Peter Schiff with a big debate, tokenized for gold versus Bitcoin. So that'll be a real showstopper end to the 2 days. So we hope everyone has a great time.
I'm looking forward to that debate. That actually started on X, I believe.
It did,
the two of them. And so culminating here in Dubai.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
I'm interested, Liz, you and I were talking last night. I think this is your second time sponsoring the show as a title sponsor. What was happening last year that made you want to come back? And secondly, what are you expecting to see in this region in general?
Yeah, look, what I can say is, we were just, coming from Buenos Aires at the Ethereum World Fair, there with our sort of friends in the sort of broader Ethereum ecosystem, which is really exciting. I think speaking to what Jessica says, this is where so many different people, like the diversity of ideas, opinions, projects, protocols here is really, really exciting. I think for us, we just knew that, Binance are such flag bearers in this sort of region and in what, people sort of consider quote unquote rest of world, which is also where sort of our ecosystem happens to be strongest, also where crypto adoption is highest. So for us, it's just really important to sort of round out our year. It's what we look forward to, every sort of December to come back to. And just really exciting to sort of see how things sort of kick off, evolve. You're seeing a lot of changes sort of in US, tons of adoption happening for us, especially in our ecosystem, finding product market fit here. We just flipped base in terms of DAUs, daily active users at 700,000. We just flipped Tron in terms of weekly active users of USDT at, all-time highs. I think we saw 3.3 million. And I think that's only going to sort of grow and go up into the right. And so we're really, really excited to sort of be with a lot of our partners here to just kind of spread the message and just educate folks and see how we can really partner together, to strengthen the region. You even see things like Dev Connect, for example, and other sort of larger, other sort of flagship events, coming to the region, in India and Mumbai for next year, et cetera. So just really excited to participate in and really be here and really learn more than anything else from the different communities, per Jessica's earlier point.
Jess, you both have talked about bringing different crypto communities and ecosystems together under one roof here in Dubai. Talk to me a little bit more about, from Binance's perspective, why that's so important and why that's so important for moving this industry forward.
Yeah, so Binance is very close to celebrating our 300 million user milestone, and I think it's always giving back to the community and reinforcing that we are still just at this inflection tipping point and the industry still has so much more room to grow. And as you mentioned, the testament to that is stablecoin growth and adoption. So we are seeing that on and off ramping into the digital asset ecosystem is really important, but then also having an enjoyable experience and having this multi-chain experience while you are within the Binance application, while you're at events, is just really crucial. And then to kind of bring that to life on the show floor is we have swag stores to give away for all of our kind of users and attendees. We have people that fly in from all over the world to come to this event, from Mexico, Latin America. We have people from Southeast Asia that come over. So it's really a great testament. We've had people that have had 24 hours of flying to make it over. We have around 120 Binance Angels that come over as well, and they are really our flagship educators that are on site for hyper-localization of the Binance messaging. Because crypto is all about education. It's why people watch shows like this. It's why people come to these events. So what we can do is just bring that all under one roof so we can be community-led as an organization and empower our users just to keep growing and spread the message of crypto.
And Jess, if I were to walk the floor, which I will do after we're done, am I going to see tokenization in real-world assets? Am I going to see gaming? Am I going to see sort of all the different silos that crypto takes place in?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the seller booth as well, which is fantastic. I think it's bigger than most two-story apartments.
It is.
Amazing. We have SportsFi on the expo floor as well. We have RWA, as you've mentioned. And then we have some of the more ecosystem trends that we've seen. Aster, for example, perpetual DEX trading. So there's so many different activations. And on top of that, then we also have networking hubs. We want people to come and meet their project founders, which IRL you can't do. And also, I've come from a TradFi space. At a TradFi event, you could never see the leaders. We have our CEO, Richard Tang, and also He, our founder, who will be walking around the show floor, meeting the community, and also meeting other founders. The conversations that happen on these floors are always nothing short of magical, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they unfold.
Liz, you mentioned Celo flipping Tron and Base. Talk to me a little bit more about what's going on in the Celo ecosystem. What's contributing to that? What are you excited about?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to give too much away. I know you'll speak with Renee and Jorgen later, but we have co-created sort of MiniPay wallet, which is a self-custodial stablecoin savings wallet. 10 million users, actually closer to 11 million, I think, primarily in sub-Saharan Africa, and available sort of as a standalone app in iOS and Play stores. You have tons of people within that sort of mini app economy. On Celo too, we have like 40 plus mini apps within MiniPay alone, in addition to sort of a really robust developer ecosystem through proof of ship, lots of ways to get funded, really easy to build on Celo. A lot of people looking at things like peer-to-peer payments, cross-border payments, making that really frictionless and easy for everyday users of all experience levels. We have everything from creative crowdfunding platforms, micro work platforms and protocols, everything from sort of ZK KYC with Self. I believe you're speaking with Eric Nakagawa, the CEO, for that tomorrow. So yeah, tons of folks just really kind of using stables, using sort of digital assets to really sort of thrive online and sort of experience like new ways of, just kind of being on chain, which is really, really exciting.
And Jess, I want to go back to you. I want to think about Binance's role, especially in this part of the world. I feel like between Binance and BNB Chain, I speak to people and they all say, if I want to focus on Asia, I need to be talking to Binance. If I want to be building for this community, I want to be building on BNB. Can you just tell us why and sort of how from the work you guys have done, that message has gotten out and people are really, and then what are they doing with that?
Well, I think Binance is, at this point, largest exchange, but also the most regulated exchange with 22 licenses. But on top of that, there's a very big focus on regional teams and regional focuses. So rather than having specific areas of focus, we have core teams with general leads that are based in the region that fully understand the market from a regulatory standpoint, also the community education points, and then the on and off ramp processes so that you can have a seamless user experience. And I think that's probably why we do have this kind of positive reputation. But I can speak to the UAE because I'm based here in Dubai, and I think that Dubai has a fantastic, and the UAE at large, a fantastic open approach when it comes to regulatory understanding for crypto assets. So in just a few minutes, we're going to have His Excellency Omar Sultan, who's the Minister of AI for the United Arab Emirates. And I think the fact that we have at cryptocurrency conferences ministers for AI coming and talking about the progressive move forward. There's UAE looking to incorporate from a technological standpoint flying taxis. There are just these remarkable milestones and standpoints that you think would only be on a kind of Back to the Future movie. And the UAE is just open for business and anything innovation and forward thinking, and that's why the UAE is a real good.
Did you just say flying taxis
exist? Flying taxis do exist, and they are coming to the UAE, and we have a few speakers.
But wait,
actually,
hold on.
We need this in New York.
And can I order
What
one?
is it? Totally. Car?
Traffic here is difficult, so we're going up in every aspect of the world. Next year, we'll get you one to take you back to the hotel.
I love that.
Yeah, I want in too.
Yes.
Jess, we got to get you to the main stage now, so we are going to say bye to you. Thanks so much for kicking the show off with us.
Thanks for having us.
That was Celo Chief Operating Officer Liz Pang and Binance Global Media and Content Lead Jessica Walker. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Binance.
Hello and welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. Our next guest is here with us, founder and CEO of Waxman, David Waxman. Hello.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you here. We are here in Dubai. So let's just start off here. Why is it so important for you and Waxman to have a presence here in the Middle East?
Well, first I've got to say thank you to Binance for having all of us here. It's extraordinary. Coca-Cola Arena is next level, and Dubai really is doing its part to show that it's where the future of crypto is going to be. Binance, they're based here in the UAE, and they've got an extraordinary array of great sponsors and companies that are participating, and Waxman's one of those. We're here to support our clients, but also support Binance. I mean, they've done so much for this industry, and it's great here to celebrate the end of a great 2025 with them.
David, you talk about this being the end of 2025. We've all been all over the world this year, seeing how teams are building, understanding the global sort of footprint of what crypto is. Give us the TLDR on why Dubai.
So there's a time zone here, let's start there, that's extraordinarily advantageous. What we've seen over time is that crypto went from being centered in the United States to then centered in Europe when the United States was extraordinarily anti. We saw the foundation setting up in Switzerland. But then we saw during the ICO era a boom in East Asia. This was in 2017, 2018, and trading volume in places like Korea took off. But right there neatly in the middle is this extraordinary time zone. And I've got to give a lot of credit to the government here in Dubai that saw where the puck was going and decided to go and build a really great progressive infrastructure. They do regulate here. They surely do. I've seen it in action before. But they're thoughtful regulation. They took the best of the worlds and they built purpose-specific regulation that lets companies actually exist here. And it's remarkable what happens when you have some certainty as a business. You can actually do things like hire employees, make business plans, get real financing, and innovate. And that's what we're seeing here in Dubai.
I'm interested just to follow up on that. When you walk around Dubai, and we've all been doing wherever you're allowed to walk, because you have to basically take a car everywhere. But when you walk around, right, it's like every building looks like it was, inspired by an Avengers movie. There's monorails flying around you. We just heard just flying cars coming. This whole city feels like it was built in the last 20 or 30 years, even though we know there's a historic element to it, which really makes me think if there's anywhere that sort of digital internet native money is going to succeed, it's this region, because it is so recent and everyone coming in is ready to build at the speed and the scale of the internet. And I'm just wondering, in your POV, if part of what makes it work also is in some respects, it still has that sort of new technology smell all over it in a really positive way.
Everything is under construction here. I believe at one point there were more cranes here than perhaps in, I think, the eastern half of the United States at the same time. And that's just in the UAE. You're right, it does feel like we're in an Avengers movie. I was taking a run on the canal earlier, and there's many skyscrapers under construction, but even the ones that are currently existing, they all look futuristic, which is a wonderful analog for crypto, right? We're building quickly. Every now and then we break something, but then we repair and we rebuild. And we've seen in the same type of trajectory we've seen Dubai grow, we've seen crypto grow too. The story is just yesterday in the Wall Street Journal and others, we're talking about, once again, the death of Bitcoin, a story that we've heard many, many times. It was the worst day since March. Again, this was on the front page of some of our largest financial newspapers in the world. But then we saw the full recovery within 24 hours. To me, that feels like an extraordinary recovery story, a building story, and that's what Dubai is all about.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. Sam mentioned, him and I have been all over the world at events like this, chatting to builders, looking at the innovation and progress in the space, and it really has felt like a line up and to the right? Despite what's going on in the markets, despite what's happening with price action. I was having a conversation at an event last night about the fact that when the market takes a downturn, often marketing and comms are the first to take a hit, right? And so I feel like communications professionals have a unique vantage point to see, looking at the health of an industry. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? It sounds like business is booming. How are folks thinking about their communication strategy given what's going on in the markets?
Well, 2025 has been great for Waxman, and it's mostly because of the change in regulation in the United States, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you're right, there's a reason why marketing budgets are slashed when people need to cockroach, right, when they need to survive. But I've been doing this for a really long time. It's been 12 years now for me personally, and more than 10 years for Waxman. And you don't build a business with 125 full-time professionals, based on something that goes up and down as much as crypto. There's a real fundamental business here, which is helping companies with their strategy, with their launches. And now, a lot of these are public companies that have a fiduciary duty to shareholders to constantly be disclosing things. And this has been really great for Waxman. None of this was possible a little over a year ago. It wasn't until the president took office in the United States where we started to see a lot more M&A activity. We started to see IPOs. We saw the rise, and we'll talk debatably the fall of a lot of the DATs, right? But what we saw is a lot of companies going public. And I think that's just the beginning of a trend that started during the Biden administration. We saw the Bitcoin ETFs pass, but we're going to see a lot more public companies in crypto, and some of them are going to be based here.
So let's take that one step further. You guys work with a ton of clients. You advise others who are coming up. When they say, hey, David, where should I incorporate my company? Where should I build it out of? Is this one of the places you recommend?
I think this is a great talent hub. And yes, I think it's a great place to domicile your business. But I think you can also build in the United States. And that's something that you couldn't do not that long ago. This has been unfortunate for Europe. And I think we've seen a lot of companies, even from East Asia, that have decided to re-domicile in the United States because they can. They feel safe doing so. But remember, crypto is a 24/7 game. And consequently, you need to be time zone distributed. This is where a lot of the talent is. Talent wants to be here. In fact, we've seen a flight from a lot of places in Europe to Dubai. And so it's really easy to hire high-quality people here. This is a place where Waxman, I will tell you, we're deeply in the mix to go and build out an office here, because again, the talent's here. Yes, the clients might be here, but mostly the talent's here, and that's rare.
I want to pull on the one thread that you just said, though, which I think is really a key point, which is you have companies that are now comfortable re-domiciling back in the US. I think about when we were in Toronto last year for Consensus. The reason we chose Toronto for that event was the year before we were in Austin, and we had a lot of companies say we can't step foot in the US in 2023. Now it's open arms, come in. That is such a big shift, as you mentioned, really with the new administration coming in. So I think, I wonder about how does that actually affect in the long run places like Dubai, like Singapore, like parts of Europe, where suddenly everyone's saying, no, I want to go where the real money is. And if that money is here, not that there's not a lot in this part of the world too, but I can also get access to the regulators. I can also get access to the big banks. I can also get access to a lot of the VC money that lives in that part of the world.
Yeah, the higher valuation VC money and the gigantic, by far and away the world's largest capital market. That's what we really have in the United States. And shameless plug for CoinDesk and for Waxman. We're very proud to serve as CoinDesk's agency for Consensus in 2026 in Miami. Coming back to America.
That's right.
It's going to be great.
Miami, yeah.
We'll have to do this there too. But no, I think it's not an either or. You know, you can be in multiple places at once, and that's really what happens in this industry. We've noticed that companies, as they grow, and growth means growing vertically, but also growing horizontally. They're growing in many places, but yes, they can finally safely be in the US, and then they'll have the capital to also grow elsewhere too.
We were just talking to Jess from Binance about Binance's education strategy in different regions and how that really needs to be adapted to what's going on in the region. Talk to us a little bit about how you're advising crypto firms to speak to the audience here in the Dubai. What's different about speaking to audiences in other parts of the world?
Well, I'd say the audience in Dubai is a lot more sophisticated than in some of the other markets. What I've found anyway is that not only the regulators and the policymakers here actually know what they're doing, which is an enormous advantage, I can tell you, from all the other places that we know we've got offices overseas. So that's a huge advantage. But the retail population is pretty sophisticated too. We've noticed that everyone from wealth managers really know their stuff. They've been looking at the Bitcoin and Ethereum ecosystems. They're talking about tokenization of all sorts of different types of hard assets in a way that you simply don't see elsewhere. So I think you're going to see some things premiering here even before they hit the US, Europe, or East Asia.
And with the types of companies that you are pitching or they're coming to you for your services, are there any thematics you're seeing in some of these folks?
Well, I'll say this. I think stablecoins have been the story of 2025. I think they're going to be a big part of 2026. But one thing I'm noticing now, and I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, is I think there's outside of the L1s, which is where a lot of the investment capital went, and then the app chains, which unfortunately didn't take off. I think they need to. The 2026 story is going to also be about, I'm going to call it volatile tokens, non-security tokens that have real cash flows associated with them. I know that's a little bit...
Say more about that.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I can't yet. But what I can say is this.
Alpha.
I think it is. I think crypto, for crypto's sake, is really going to take off, is what I'm trying to say. It required legal certainty first. But what I can tell you is large businesses, companies with a lot to lose and a lot to gamble, now feel comfortable enough in the crypto space that they're willing to risk it all. And they can do so because at the very least, they're not going to jail, which they might have a couple years ago. And so anyway, I think you're going to see companies making big bets on non-just stablecoin crypto in 2026, and I think that's going to be good for the whole industry.
David, thanks so much for joining us at the desk. We will see you at Consensus.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, David.
That was Waxman CEO and founder David Waxman. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more from Binance Blockchain Week right here in Dubai.
Join me on Binance.
Hello and welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week. We are joined now by our next guest, Aster CEO Leonard. Hey, Leonard.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you too. How are you enjoying the event so far? I have to say, Sam told us he was going to get in the bungee later, and so we'll have video of that up somewhere. Have you walked the floor? What's the vibe been like for you?
Oh, it's very exciting. I previously joined Binance Blockchain Week as not as a sponsor. This is the first time doing it. Feels very different that now you're paying to be here. So yeah, but overall, I think the vibe is very exciting. And tomorrow we have our fireside chat. We have a lot more that we want to share with the audience about our roadmaps, what we want to do. So very excited.
Leonard, you know, Aster has gotten so much buzz over the last couple of months. Before we get into all that you're working on and what you're doing, I just want to know what it feels like as a founder to create something that suddenly everyone's talking about. Mm-hmm. How does that feel to you?
It feels very surreal. So if everyone's saying it just jump out of nowhere, and then all this overnight success, how does it feel? We actually worked on this product for 4 years. Yeah. And I think it's the same story for a lot of founders. You just have to keep working on something, have conviction in it, just be long-term focused and iterate. Keep iterating very quickly, someday you may catch like some luck like us, and then it might take off. So to all the founders out there, I would say like there's like no secret sauce. Just keep doing what you're doing, and then hopefully I believe in what you're doing, and just keep doing it. And the rest of it is luck. But like for me, for example, this is totally new to me. People don't believe me. I'm more of an introvert, so I'm getting used to all this like attention that I'm getting. But whatever it takes to make the project more visible, to get more users, to give us more feedback, I think I'm here for it.
Well, speaking of attention, CZ said on X that he bought 2 million tokens, and that really made the project take off. I think that day he tweeted it was up 20%, but up 400% over some time. I mean, that's a different level of attention, isn't it? Talk to us a little bit about your connection with Binance and having someone like CZ in your corner.
I worked in Binance, so I learned a lot working there, how a successful startup works. I also have some fail experience before, so I learned what I shouldn't do. I learned like what I should do when I was in Binance. And CC personally is like my advisor, like my coach. So I do have regular talks with him, and I think especially in the last 2 months, like, his advice has been very helpful to me, because he's probably a few people on the planet that have experienced like a similar kind of like I would say a short-term success, and how to deal with that, like all that traffic, all that contention, and how to maximize that for us to build for long term. So like she's like very valuable. I couldn't think of anyone better to advise us. So. But one thing I would say though, he didn't buy enough, so.
Well, I think he's here, so you could tell him.
Right.
I got it.
If we see CZ, we're gonna get him over here, make him commit to something.
To some more Astro tokens. What's a piece of advice that CZ has given you that has really resonated with you?
Well, I think one of the things that he talked to me about before TGE was that we weren't optimistic enough. Like I'm a relatively conservative person. I'm more risk averse. I used to work in like building risk engines, so I'm always thinking about risk. But then I think he constantly tried to push me to say like to think bigger. To think when I was talking to him about tokenomics, and like he always asked us to dream big. And if we're building something, we might as well build from ground up, thinking how we can reconstruct everything, right? Like stop thinking about risk. Think about the potential. I think that's very important, because I think most successful founders, they are conservatively optimistic. I have the conservative part, but I need more of the optimism, I would say.
Leonard, you guys have a decentralized exchange. Aster has a very popular perp dex. Tell us, the rise of perp dexes seem to be something that a lot of people are talking about. So what do you think is it about the psychology that makes people really want to sort of play the game of these perpetual exchanges?
So I've been in this game for long enough that I remember like way back 4 years ago, it was like first DYDX that kind of started everything. We actually started like thinking about that as well. And it was our belief that eventually DEX will be the dominant infrastructure for all things trading. So that's why we started it. But back then, the infrastructure wasn't good enough to support it. Like I remember, like doing a trade on DYDX takes like 5 seconds to confirm, which is like you will immediately go back to SEX after that, right? Yeah. But then comes GMX, so there's like a new concept of how you can provide liquidity, like on-chain perp DEX, and comes Hyperliquid, right? Like it's just open up everybody's minds how you can provide a decentralized solution with centralized experience. So I would say the infrastructure, the experience has improved so much that now that it becomes easier for people to actually test it out and stay on all these perp DEX. And I think we are also witnessing a lot of failures in centralized exchanges, and that kind of create this trust issue that push people more to a decentralized infrastructure. So I think that's like how it brought us to today, where I believe probably in like 6 to 12 months, like maybe even more like earlier, than the trading activity, the liquidity on decentralized infrastructure might surpass centralized exchanges.
Talk to us a little bit more about that. What does that look like? You know, what do the flows of users from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges look like, and what are some of the catalysts you expect to see?
Well, I think first, I'm being optimistic there, but then, but I think for a new user right now, for a new user that's entering the crypto space, decentralized experience and centralized experience are very comparable. Like it's like besides the onboarding process and the on-off ramp process, the actual core trading experience is pretty homogeneous at this point. So it really boils down to what user preferences are. Do they want self-custody, or is certain asset that they decide to trade accessible on decentralized infrastructure, on centralized infrastructure? So it's really, I would say, for a new user, like a 50-50 game now. But for user to migrate from one platform to another platform, as we all always say, like you need to have a 10 times better product because it's very traumatized to migrate. Like when they're like people hate changes, right?
I know that.
So that's why I think that part is still probably the hardest part for a decentralized exchange to push for. Like, how do we create a product that is like 5 times, 10 times better than the current sex experience? And once we have done that, probably like that will trigger an avalanche of migration from the traditional centralized exchange. And I also think, like, I'm more practical. I don't think the centralized exchange as we know it would just cease to exist. It's more likely once that trend gets started, in my opinion, like the centralized exchange will become more decentralized. So we're actually seeing that already. Like in like for Binance, for like you start seeing some of the decentralized service available in their centralized app, centralized infrastructure. So, but that also means that more of the trading activity and liquidity will be pushed to decentralized infrastructure. So I think like the future will be somewhere in the middle. Like the centralized exchange as we know it will become more decentralized, and more users will eventually migrate to decentralized infrastructure.
All right, Leonard, have to ask you, I've been hearing about Rocket Launch, and I want to understand, just in our time we have left, what is Rocket Launch? How are people utilizing it? Where's the alpha coming from? Tell us how people should be thinking about this with Aster.
So Rocket Launch is something that we want to create to help early stage project with a great team, great product. With liquidity, because that's what we're good at, right? After we launch our own token on our own platform, we realized that a lot of projects probably need that kind of liquidity boost at the early stage. So we want to create this win-win-win situation where a good project can get liquidity, we get to lease all this great product, great asset at early stage, and our user gets rewarded, like trading and like trying out this new product. So that's why we call it Rocket Launch. The first Rocket Launch project, April, like 90% of their initial liquidity was on Aster, and it's now listed on Binance. So hopefully we can find the next few projects that will follow similar pathway and give our users like early access to all this great assets.
And I know people can apply to participate via your X. You shared a forum on X recently for that next project, right?
Yes.
All right, so people can go over to Leonard's X and find that. Leonard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for your time.
That was Aster CEO Leonard. All right, if you're just joining us, we are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai, where industry leaders, innovators, builders, regulators, and Web3 pioneers are meeting to shape the financial future. Now, before we get back to our conversations happening right here at this desk, we're going to take a look at what's going on in the news this morning. Our first story, Bitcoin dipped below fair value for the first time in 2 years. The largest cryptocurrency by market cap briefly slipped below its value based on the Metcalfe value modeling. According to an economist, this is typically a signal that marks the late stages of market resets. Historically, periods when Bitcoin trades below its Metcalfe value have delivered strong forward returns. 12-month performance in these conditions have been positive 96% of the time, with an average gain of 132%. Moving on to our second story, Bitcoin is above $93,000 this morning. The rebound on Tuesday drove a surge in trading volume for crypto-linked ETFs like BlackRock's IBIT, making IBIT among the most traded ETFs. IBIT saw around $3.7 billion in trading volume on Tuesday, surpassing the S&P 500 ETF from Vanguard, which recorded $3.28 billion. This puts BlackRock's Bitcoin fund in rare company alongside some of the most liquid and widely held ETFs in the market. And lastly, prediction market Kalshi has closed its $1 billion financing round, which has pushed its valuation to around $11 billion. The round was led by Paradigm with participation from Sequoia Capital and Capital G, Alphabet's growth equity arm. And according to Axios, CNN has struck a partnership with the prediction market company to bring Kalshi's data to its journalism. Those are your top 3 news stories for the morning. Follow CoinDesk.com for all the latest. But I think you should stick right here because we're bringing you the latest and greatest from Dubai at Binance Blockchain Week. Sam, Bitcoin's back up. Where do you think it's going? You do think we're going to end the year higher?
I do think we're going to end the year higher. I'm cautiously optimistic. I wish we had a supercut of all the people we've interviewed this year who were predicting 150, 250, 350,000 on Bitcoin. I think that they did ourselves a little bit of a disservice. Not because it doesn't have the potential to go there, it absolutely does. It's just the time horizons have been off.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see that we are starting to get positive momentum. I think a lot of people didn't really factor in what happened on October 10th and sort of the ripple effects that would happen in that, combined with what's happening in the macroeconomy.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is, look, it's a great investment over time. It is a fantastic thing to be involved with. It does not mean that this is an always up, always to the right, always, magical money that's going to just continue to increase. It still has fundamentals that people should be aware of.
Well, we were just overhearing the main stage where Michael Saylor was, and I think that he might disagree with you, Sam.
Did he have a prediction by end of year?
I don't think he did have a prediction by end of year. I think he's giving it a few years for it to get to $1 million. But I want to say, Sam, we can make that supercut for you. It can happen. We'll put it
I want
up.
it now, though. That's the problem. We're on our last big event of the year, so. But I hear you. Where do you think Bitcoin's going to be at the end of the year?
I think it could be higher. December, usually we see something called the Santa Rally in crypto assets. Usually we do end the year higher. This has been a little bit of a different year. It's been a little bit of a different Q4. There are many different factors that play into that. You mentioned some of them, Sam. So I think we will end the year higher. We just took a look at the top news stories, and that first story I talked about was a technical indicator that said, Bitcoin is undervalued, and usually when we see this indication, 96% of the time, Bitcoin is 132% higher within the next 12 months.
12 months,
And
yes.
so by the end of the year, I don't know, but I do think long term, I'm going to take a note from our last guest and be just optimistic. Long term, I hope it's good. I hope it's up and to the right. I'm going to breathe a little bit of hopium into the air.
All right, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is with
Okay,
you.
do it.
Which is, I'm gonna say, we should each choose a number.
Okay.
Closest one to the number wins.
Okay.
And it'll be lunch somewhere relatively close to our New York office. So let's
Okay.
be real, we don't want to walk that far.
Well, I don't want to walk that far. I get to choose if I win. You get to choose if you win. Okay.
Yes.
I love this bet. I am going to say, so what are we at right now? Like above $93,000?
We're about 93,
okay.
yeah.
I'm going to say the end of the year we are at 110.
And we're talking December 31st.
December 31st, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, right now we're at 93,399.
Okay.
You're claiming 110.
I'm predicting 110.
110.
I claim 110.
All right, I'm gonna go under you. And again, it's closest to, so
Okay.
it's fine. I'm gonna say we're at 99.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go full 11,000 under. And not because I don't believe in the asset, I really do believe in the asset, but I think that it takes a while. I think the markets are still figuring out where they're at. We don't know exactly what's happening in rate cuts. A lot would have to happen for me to get Bitcoin up, in essence, 22% to get to where you need it to be.
Okay, Sam. Okay.
So I'm gonna choose 99, and I look forward to you buying me a meal.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say that regardless of who wins or loses, I look forward to having a meal with you, Sam.
That is the optimistic approach.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that last story we talked about, Kalshi, now valued at $11 billion. I mean, maybe we should make a prediction market. There's probably one we can participate on the price of Bitcoin by the end of the year. But, we've talked a little bit about narratives going into 2026, and I think both you and I agree that prediction markets are going to be a huge narrative as we see mainstream brands like CNN partner partner with Kalshi. We see regulation in the United States really favor prediction markets with the CFTC now overseeing those markets. I am calling that as a huge narrative for 2026.
I think it is. I'm going to say I think we have a little bit of a prediction market bubble happening.
Uh-oh.
And I say that in the sense that Kalshi had 11 billion. I believe Polymarket's last round was 9 billion. Not that these things aren't fun to use, because they are absolutely fun to use. When I think of the underlying core technology, I don't see the equivalent of what I see in AI. I don't see what I see in the equivalent of blockchain. I see something which is something that rides on top.
It's a use case,
It's
right?
it's a use case, but sports markets have been around forever.
Yep.
The idea of, I think I go back to the Hollywood Stock Exchange, which very early internet properties from the 1990s. These markets come and go. And I think the idea that suddenly these markets come and go, and we're going to now have it at these sky-high valuations. Why? Because we've supercharged it with the idea of more users in market, more USDT or USDC in market. I think that it's something that, in the end, anyone who wants to play can do, and it ends up, if I think about it technically, at some point it's literally going to be a plug-and-play module.
Right.
And you don't need Kalshi or Polymarket to do that.
Well, when I say huge narrative, I mean more the next iteration of sports betting. I think it will contribute to the next iteration of social. You and I have talked a little bit about how prediction markets can be incorporated into social platforms and more financial social platforms. And so I kind of agree with you. These valuations are insane. There is probably a little bit of a bubble there. But I think it really is bringing us into the next era of things we're already participating in, going to make it a little bit easier to access. Yeah.
But don't you think, and I know we can wrap this in a minute, but don't you think that when I think of prediction markets, I still think they are so gameable.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Compared to the Super Bowl, let's say, compared to any basketball game, that I think over time we're going to start seeing scandals come out about how people have gamed prediction markets. Because when we talk about the wisdom of crowds, and then you apply the social arbitration that happens around sort of bot farms and those with influence around the world, it ends up being too easy to game these markets. And it's something that is just like, people will make money, but I believe the last stat I saw was that something like 70% of prediction market predictions are losers when it comes down to it. And I think that's because those 30% that are winning have enough influence in the market to really ensure their win.
Yeah.
Which makes it feel like this is something that we have to continually look at and see what's going to happen. I know Kalshi just had that ruling come down, I think it was Las Vegas or Los Angeles, about in essence, not being a security, but actually being a gambling product, which has different regulatory needs behind it. Maybe our next guest can help us think about this. I don't know.
Maybe our next guest can help us think about it.
But I'm interested in us having the conversation continually.
All right, joining us now is UAE crypto lawyer and founder of Neos Legal, Irina Heaver. She is based in Dubai and advises founders and regulators on the region's rapidly evolving laws. Irina, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Okay, what do you think about prediction markets?
Well, the UAE's legal system does not allow for prediction markets to take place just yet. We have a new authority that is working on the regulations, and predictive markets is the narrative, right? VCs are interested, the public is interested, so let's see if we can make that work in the Middle East. Probably not this year. Let's see how that works out next year.
There's a lot going on here anyways. I think that
Wait, so if Irina was doing her own prediction market on when prediction markets would come to the UAE.
I will say 2027.
Okay. There we go.
That's my prediction.
Bet on that now.
It's all about predictions. Welcome to the desk. All right, let's get down to what we want to talk about here, and it is regulation and policy in the United Arab Emirates. There was a recent UAE central bank law, and I think that this is top of mind for folks who are operating here. So why don't you just kind of unpack what that law is, what it means, and then we can talk about some of the misconceptions as we navigate through this.
Let's start with the misconceptions.
Yeah.
There's so much noise and there's so much nonsense on Twitter, and unfortunately really big media picked it up and ran with that. And it started by really one very salty individual who for some reason hates UAE. I do not know why, but it's very popular to hate on emerging markets. UAE has literally turned 54 years yesterday, right? So we're like a middle-aged person, and we're still trying to, and look how much we've achieved, and look how UAE has developed. But for some reason, it's very popular to hate on Dubai, hate on the UAE, and you know, people have their own issues. I've been here for 18 years. So there was one particular individual who went on Twitter and said Bitcoin is banned, private wallets are banned, based on this central bank law. And we genuinely all got concerned, the residents and the crypto people living here in the UAE, and we tried to reason with this individual saying, no, it's not that case, you know, the law says this and not that. But it just turned really, really nasty. And the reality is Bitcoin is not banned, private wallets are not banned, so do not listen to fake news, bashing UAE for nothing, right? The haters gonna hate, as we say, right? So what is that new law, right? There is a little bit of an issue there that let's get to that. What is this new law? Central Bank of the UAE is in charge of the monetary policy, is in charge of dirham, the currency, as well as the digital dirham, which is a CBDC version of it. The new law came out to sort of take all the little pieces of the legislation that been around for the last 54 years and consolidate it into one law about the central bank, what do they do, what are their responsibilities, what do they license, such as payment tokens. We in the industry call it stable coins, but the UAE Central Bank regulates AED-backed stable coins. So all of these pieces of information were amalgamated into one law. So there is one clause that raised all these issues, is that, so Central Bank regulates banking activities, payment tokens, insurance activities, and many other sort of banking-related activities, which is normal. It's all over the world. That's what the central banks are for. However, what they have done is that they extended onto blockchain technology. For example, if you're planning to provide banking services in the UAE, you need to have a banking license. Agreed? That's normal. It's like this everywhere in the world. However, if you're trying to position yourself as we're a blockchain bank, that will not relieve you of the liability to obtain the license. That's what the law is. It basically extends the, so you cannot argue we're decentralized, we're a protocol. If you're providing banking services as the nature of your product, of your offering, you have to be regulated in the UAE. If you're based in the UAE, if you're targeting the UAE, then of course there's all the other options or questions, right? There are questions. What if we're a protocol based on which neobanking is based? Will I have to be regulated or not? That we have questions around it, right? And we look forward to receiving implementing legislation, how this licensing will be implemented. Because this is the law, and then we always have implementing regulations. So it's not the time to panic, it's not the time to bash UAE, it's the time to be even more bullish about the UAE.
Irina, where do you think the UAE is taking their cues from? Is it from the US? Is it from Europe? Is it from Asia and Singapore? Like, where do you think they're getting inspired? Or do you think they're saying, I want to chart our own?
I think UAE is getting the cue of what not to do from around the world. For example, Dubai 3 years ago established the world's first virtual asset regulatory authority, VARA. Where did they get the cues from? They looked what other countries are doing and they said, we're not going to do that because it's not working, it's failing, it's legislation by enforcement. We do not want that. We want a regulator who understands crypto. We want a regulator who talks to the industry, and that happens all the time. VARA, our regulator, talks to the industry all the time. It's just absolutely amazing how close we all work together. I think UAE is looking what is happening and they're saying we're going to be not doing that because it's not working, and we want to be number one in everything we do. We might not succeed, but at least this is our aim.
So now that the US has really changed its stance, maybe it's getting its cues from some other regions around the world. Do you think that we are going to see some companies that have set up shop here maybe look at US shores?
Look, I can't speak for everybody, right? I can only speak for us. And every week we relocate the largest protocol, the largest exchange, the most advanced founder to the UAE. My firm alone relocated half of Malta, half of Switzerland to the UAE. Yes, I'm very outspoken. I'm very bullish. I'm always, in regulators' faces lobbying for permissive regulations, and we've been very successful with RWA. Tokenization of real-world assets. So we've lobbied the regulator for 2.5 years, and the law that removes RWAs from securities is here. Would you want to do that in the US? No, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Is that a security? Is that not a security? That is why I believe that competition is great. So if founders believe that the US is a great market for them, fantastic. But if founders want to reach the global south, I'm talking about 4 billion people, if you want to reach that global south of 4 billion people, Dubai, UAE is the place to be.
My final question, you probably are speaking to a lot of companies that are coming to saying, Irina, give us advice how to work within this region. What are the 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you give them about how to correctly set up for regulatory approval or sort of being within the compliance of the law?
This is a great question because so many founders are coming and they make all the mistakes you can imagine. They waste time, they waste money, they waste their resources. So by the time they speak to us, they've already wasted 2 years and $1 million. So what we've done, we wrote, if you permit me, if you allow me, we wrote the Founder's Guide to the UAE crypto laws. It's literally all the laws that we have written, transcribed for the founders. We included a lot of pictures. We included the graphs and the charts. I understand it might be a little bit daunting for the founders to deal with the legal matters, but we have this book, we have this resource. We co-authored it together with ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, with DMCC Crypto Center, and with VAR, our regulator. It was very important for me that this book is not just here's Irina's opinion. It's actually blessed by our government authorities. It's absolutely free. It's available for everybody, and I will encourage read the book, understand, and if you still have questions, come to somebody you trust. It doesn't have to be us. Of course, I would love it for it to be us, but talk to a lawyer you trust, talk to a founder you trust. That's very important, to talk to somebody who actually went through that, made all the mistakes, so you don't do that.
Irina, thanks so much for joining us at the desk. We hope you enjoy the rest of your time here.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was UAE crypto lawyer and founder of Neos Legal, Irina Heaver. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Join me on Binance.
And welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. Our next guest is here, co-founder and CEO of Aptos Labs, Avery Chang. Hey, Avery.
It's good to see you both.
Yeah,
hey, Avery,
nice to see you again. Been following your movements on X. You were just in India.
I was.
Now you're here in Dubai. Give us the TLDR on what happened at India Blockchain Week.
India Blockchain Week is an amazing event, actually, a culmination of a lot of builders and enterprises out there in the region, and we've been investing in India for 3+ years now. And I think a lot of the fruits of that labor have been really developing and making a lot of progress. We just actually were upstage with Geo Reliance. Maybe you've heard of them. They're IPOing this year. They're one of the largest companies in the world, and have over 500 million customers on their telco service. They kind of announced a lot about the partnership with Aptos, what we're doing in terms of ad tech, AI, IoT, as well as many other aspects of looking at reward systems and also stablecoins in the future. So there's a lot to do there, which we're excited about.
Avery, Aptos has been cooking this year. You guys have been doing a lot. I mentioned I was at your event in Brooklyn a couple of months ago, and there's a ton of energy around people building in the space. I just want you to reflect a little bit. Go back to 2019. You're working at Facebook at the Libra project, and you're sort of seeing what big tech blockchain can look like. And then fast forward, you're here 6 years later, and you guys are really building what you probably wanted to build, and with the handcuffs off, right? Just give us a little bit of that journey for you.
100%. I mean, when we started off in Libra and Diem back in 2018, we were really focused on the use cases of how do we bring MasterCard, Visa, Uber, Lyft, Facebook, Instagram, all those conglomerations on-chain through payments networks. The 24/7 payments network with new currencies, new crypto primitives, and then in a way that would be very, very much compliant with the government at the time. But fast forward to today, the government's changed a lot. The administration is very forward-thinking about crypto. We're now very much forward-facing in terms of how we engage with the legislature, through the CFTC, through our work with the House Agriculture Committee on the Clarity Act, and seeing a lot of traction, not just the regulatory side, but the capital market side, with a lot of IPOs happening, with DATs happening, and now we can build the kind of end state, which we believe is the global trading engine of the future, and developing technology where all financial markets, not just crypto markets, come on chain, and are really going to change the way we think about commerce, interaction, transactions between different parties, and also a leveling of the playing field. It's just so important out there, because if you think about today, a trade that goes through Robinhood will then hit Citadel first. There'll be order flow payments for that. That's just the way regulated markets work. But the future of this technology is where all players have the same edge. There's no advantage for being a prop shot, HFT firm, and others. We can all play in this world very equally and fairly.
Avery, when you think back to when you were at Facebook, when you were building, coming up against the challenges you came up against with Libra, did you think that you would be sitting here all these years later, there would be stablecoin legislation in the United States, and you'd be having the types of conversations you're having here?
We always hoped that would be the case, but to see it really happen now, where we can be part of that discussion, where we can lead DeFi efforts from the CFTC side, where we can drive forward a lot of ideation through many other parties as well, and actually kind of construct that regulatory promise of the future that we want to have happen, and then build the technology and product at the same time. It's just an unbelievable time in our history, and I think a real turning point for crypto adoption, not only in America, but the world.
Avery, as you look at the Aptos ecosystem, which like crypto has been kind of up and down, but we're still seeing more and more builders come in, more and more different projects. You mentioned when you were with Libra and Diem, really how do we get the Visas and the PayPals who are all now on crypto?
Yeah.
What do you think are the next categories coming in? Is it going to be entertainment? Are we really thinking about just financial? Is it culture? Where do you lock in and say, if we can get X, then crypto or blockchain will really go up into the right big time?
So we think really that global trading engine is the thesis for all of crypto adoption in the future. And the global trading engine is how do we kind of put assets on, we tokenize assets, financial assets, non-financial assets. And so for the financial asset side, we're seeing folks like BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Apollo, all moving tremendous amounts of activity on-chain, a lot of it on Aptos as well. And as we tokenize those assets, we also see now the advent of data coming on-chain. We've been building a project called Shelby alongside Jump Crypto. It's an amazing kind of innovative project for hot decentralized storage that competes with the cloud infrastructure of today. You've seen kind of issues where Azure's gone down recently, AWS has gone down, caused outages for so many different companies out there. Shelby solves this problem and does it at a cost point which is far cheaper than existing cloud, S3, and all those other products. And so AI, creator platforms, and even boring old enterprise platforms are going to be starting to use products like Shelby in the future, where again, this is based on a global trading engine where you can have value exchange and value creation happening in the same platform. And so as we tokenize both the financial assets, the data assets, and then we have platforms for exchange of those assets on chain, through things like Decibel that we're building with the global trading engine, that's like the perfect, I think, thesis for how all this world works in a way that's decentralized and fair.
Talk to us a little bit more about Shelby. We just had the Cloudflare outage that affected us in some way over at CoinDesk. Shelby solves the problem, but how do you get users to understand that and migrate from the huge cloud servers of the world over to Shelby? Because that's a whole other problem to solve.
It is. I mean, so these cloud services like AWS and GCP and others have huge sales forces, right, that go out and sell their platforms and great conferences that kind of talk about the benefits. But for Shelby, it's super simple actually, because we're just cheaper. We don't have the kind of lock-in from the egress cost that every cloud provider has, because they want to keep you within their cloud. They don't want you to leave. But those same forces that keep you there mean that whenever the outage happens in the cloud, you're down, right? And so Shelby's not designed that way. It's designed as a global cloud infrastructure that spans different kinds of clouds, also individual service providers, but yet provide that performance that you expect from an S3 out there. So you're going to see cost better, you're going to see better reliability, you're going to see that every time these cloud outages happen, there's basically an advertisement for Shelby. And it's, we don't want to see people's services go down, but it kind of reminds people of the fragileness of today's systems. Cloudflare went down recently as well, right? Yeah. And so all these things that happen kind of are just showing the world that if you want to have resilient, reliable infrastructure systems and applications ultimately that touch consumers, especially those mission critical applications, whether it's going to be kind of planes or air traffic controllers, that has to be built in reliable infrastructure, and that's where Shelby's going to really shine above any other product out there in the market.
One more question on Shelby. I've been a big fan of decentralized compute for a long time. Filecoin was one of the first investment of mine. So we want this stuff to happen. I also remember the old adage from the business world that nobody ever got fired from hiring IBM.
That's right.
And so the trust that you could go with going with a Google or a Microsoft or AWS or your cloud systems covers your ass a little bit.
Yes, it does.
And the idea of me going to a boss and saying, hey, you know what? Why don't we not go with Azure and we're going to go over to Shelby? How do we sort of make the case that says this is where you want to be because of the actually opportunity, because of the features that we act, and because of the resiliency that the network can provide, while also saying, oh, by the way, it's decentralized, anyone owns it, right? How do you reconcile that for people who want to maybe deploy big systems onto it?
It's a great question. And so if you think even the way that AWS started off, it was actually built for its own set of products, right? Yeah. They actually offers a service to anybody else out there. And they kind of refined that view over time. But startups started to adopt it, and then larger corporations, I think that's going to be the same kind of pattern. As you see the benefits from these startups leveraging products like Shelby and seeing the benefits of cost, of reliability, and others, we're going to see a massive adoption there. So if you start off with crypto companies, you'll start off with those that are more familiar with the decentralized Web3 space, that have tried the Filecoins and found that those aren't the solution they're looking for, because Filecoin's great for archival, but not for hot storage, not for real-time serving, not for AI data and things like that. And as those products kind of prove the use cases of Shelby, and we've already seen tremendous amount of interest across the board, I think all those big companies will pay attention and see that this is the proper way and path forward. And the cost and the savings and the reliability aspects would sell themselves over time.
Avery, we got to let you go, but first I got to ask you, from India to the UAE, well, you and I spoke in Canada, I think, previously. Talk to us about how you're looking at this region. Why is this region important to what you're building at Aptos?
UAE is one of the most forward-thinking regions when it comes to blockchain and Web3 technology. We see so many government advancements here. Binance having their conference here every year is an amazing thing. They want to see building happening. We've been investing in the MENA region for a while now, and a lot of new efforts to yet be announced, but a lot of capital here, a lot of projects here, and a lot of, I think, government infrastructure where I think we really shine. So those are the kind of hints, I think, in which we're seeing a lot of adoption and traction.
Avery, it was so nice to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here with you both.
Thanks, Avery.
That was Aptos Labs co-founder and CEO, Avery Chang. All right, Sam, are you going to go to the bosses, convince them that we need to get on Shelby so that we can still record videos when Cloudflare goes down?
I would love for us to try a decentralized compute protocol, decentralized storage protocol, only because I think, one, we should be playing in the pool we're in.
I agree with you.
And I think it would be interesting to have both traditional systems and a decentralized system, and really just see how they compare also. I think it would be, for us to be able to correctly report on this stuff, we should be playing more in the space. So we should hit up Avery when we're back, see if we can get on Shelby, get some videos on there, see what happens.
I would really love that. And it could be a nice little experiment that we could follow. You know, how is the centralized system doing against the decentralized system, and vice versa?
Give a little scorecard. I think we should do that across a variety of protocols.
Yeah.
Also, I think it'd be really interesting to sort of look and say in real time what are the people who are challenging traditional mediums. I remember way back when, I think it was with it was Live Peer who did video streaming, and they never really could get it to like YouTube quality, which was fine. I mean, not everything can, but I think we're in a more sophisticated time and framing right now, and a lot more money coming in for people who want to build these new futures. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
It's interesting you say that. I feel like we saw that across multiple verticals, with Web3 social, Web3 gaming, Web3 video streaming, even file storage. It gets to a certain point and then it doesn't quite get there. And I think it's just a symptom or a result of these like centralized players still having such a stronghold on users, and changing that user behavior really takes a lot more than just saying like, hey, there's a better solution out here.
I think what you're saying is actually one of the key things that we forget in the blockchain space. Whether it's centralized big tech, whether it's centralized money, neither of those are going away without a fight. So we in the crypto industry sometimes get overly optimistic because a project came out, they're going to take down X.
Yeah.
And not recognizing there might be a legacy of 20 years, 50 years, 100 years of X being involved in something. I think about the conversations we had in London with, I recently had with Ahmed Namali from KYD.
I was just thinking of that conversation too.
And so he's trying to take down Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
He cannot think about taking down Ticketmaster next year. He really has to think about how do you take Ticketmaster down 20 years from now and start building the blocks now that make the better system at the crowd level locally, at the venue level, then at the touring level, then at the radio level, and all those things start to build what it means to start to integrate this technology into something more meaningful where then you get millions of users. Now, Jen, we happen to have at the desk two people who are involved in bringing in millions of users onto to more traditional platforms. And I think they might have a good opinion about this.
Well, let's get to them now. Co-founder of Celo, Renee Reisenberg, and EVP of Mobile for Opera, Jørgen Arnesen, join us now. Hello.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you here. Now, we're talking about onboarding the masses. And what we're saying is maybe it's going to take a little bit longer than the industry hopes. Talk to us about your perspective. You're already doing it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening now, and it's happening, I think, way faster than we're expecting. And it took some time to get the basic plumbing in place. And I wrote about this earlier this year when I was reflecting on 5 years of Celo mainnet being live and all the stuff that had happened. But it was really all the building blocks that were needed to now finally unleash that kind of scaling that we want to see. And so I put out this kind of vision for 2030 where my hope is that Celo can be the home for like $1 trillion economy that actually brings 1 billion people on chain and has them enjoy all these amazing services we're all building. And one of the big actually products to make that happen, I would say this is like the superstar product in Web3 right now is MiniPay, and that's what Jørgen and his team have been building at Opera.
Jørgen, before we get into MiniPay, and maybe your answer is going to incorporate something about MiniPay, what's your vision for 2030? We're heading to the end of the year. We're talking a lot about predictions and visions and looking into the future. What's yours?
It's pretty simple. I mean, Renee and I have been working together, MiniPay and the Celo teams, the Opera Celo teams for years now, and our missions are pretty much well aligned, and like bringing people online, bringing people into financial systems that are not able to do that today. We started building MiniPay outside of our browser apps in Africa. We have built a fantastic orchestration layer there, making it easy for people to get in and out of crypto. I think for us, with the roadmap we have ahead of us now, is bringing people online to the financial system is really what this is about, and the traction we've seen so far is the early flavor of what's coming ahead here. Utilizing that technology that the Celo blockchain brings allowing people to easily transact and move money around easily, which is not necessarily easy in many of the fiat markets.
You know, they say every time someone says we need to bring 1 billion users into crypto, an NFT loses its wings. And Renee, you mentioned it here.
Yeah.
But I do think this type of project that you guys are doing is we should be thinking in these 1 million, 5 million, 10 million increments.
Yeah.
Which I think you guys have a good number. Is it 10 million or so in MiniPay right now? To me, that's an extraordinary way to allow people to use blockchain in a product they already know and love with Opera, and to do so in a way that doesn't feel like you have to teach them a whole new way to use money. Right? And so tell us a little bit about the journey of what it takes to incorporate Celo, build MiniPay, and then roll it out. And what were both the sort of roadblocks as well as the successes?
Okay, maybe start quick on the product side. So what we're trying to do is make it easy for users to basically engage and use the underlying technology. So if you try out MiniPay, you'll see that we are abstracting a lot of, let's say, the complicated crypto-related features and components that not necessarily non-crypto native people are familiar with. Wallet addresses, we're using phone numbers to transact, and so that is a key enabler to that adoption that we've seen so far, and moving ahead. And of course, bringing that experience into the Opera application.
Look, the reason I'm bullish that we get to 1 billion is because Opera already has hundreds of million users, right?
Sure.
So we're not starting at zero like everybody else, but we're simply giving people that are already using Opera to connect to the internet now a way to also transact on the internet, right? And I think that's such a simpler kind of task in a way. You know, I mean, getting to 1 billion people is always hard, right? But if you already, have like hundreds of million users, it's a lot easier to get there. Which is why I think this partnership has been so exciting, and we've been able to leverage sort of the best of Opera and the best of Celo and to bring it together for this amazing application.
Now, you already mentioned it, that the announcement today is this partnership is really to bring 1 billion folks to MiniPay by 2030. For our audience that's watching at home who's not yet experienced MiniPay, just talk us through how it works. How does someone use MiniPay?
And let me break down the announcement as well. So we have been partnered for a while on this, but today's announcement is really about doubling down on this partnership, and that's like extending it, but also we have a bunch of activations that we have planned going into next year. MiniPay started in Africa within the Mini browser, which has over 90% market share there. Since has seen in the standalone iOS and Android versions that are now kind of coming into the world, and with that we're seeing adoption really everywhere in Europe, in the US, definitely in many of the global South markets. And so we're saying, hey, look, let's go out, let's meet people and builders in all these regions, because MiniPay, beyond sort of the ability to send payments super easily, as Jürgen explained, also has this really rich and growing ecosystem of mini apps. So, everything that, you would want to do on the internet, but that requires a way of making a payment, like, simple commerce, like buying airtime or making a payment at a local store, all the way to like playing games where you win rewards, right? These are all things that are so much more easy when you have a wallet that's connected directly into the application. And I think that's sort of the power of this digital economy that MiniPay is at the center of.
And in addition, I think we talk about it in the statement today, that looking at our roadmap ahead, we are going to bring crypto card functionality into the application, further making the utility easier for people to interact and bridge that connection with the fiat systems. And we announced earlier, a couple of weeks ago, a pilot program where we are integrated MiniPay with Mercado Pago and Pix in South America. You'll see in the coming weeks and months that we are going to connect MiniPay with additional payment systems around the world, which is critically important to reach that mass adoption, making it, again, easier for users to transact.
When we were in Korea early this year, we heard this wonderful stat, which was Korea is a very forward-thinking market in terms of adoption. 37% of adults play in crypto. 66% of those have wallet balances under $500. which means they're really looking at small transactions. Maybe it might be investment, maybe stablecoins and payments. When I think of Africa, when I think of LATAM, when I think of Southeast Asia, all of these are markets where people just need a better financial system. Yep. They need a better financial app that works for them. Is that where really we think this grows, is because you have still 85% of the world that does not have a great financial infrastructure.
That's a very good point. I mean, opening a bank account in the emerging markets in Africa, in many parts of the world, is very, very difficult if you don't have the balance. The banks won't give you the attention. It's as simple as that. And with MiniPay, non-custodial wallets, partnerships we also have with Tether, making that easy from basically banked from the first dollar. And that is fundamentally important.
We've talked about some of the regions that you're operating in. We're sitting here in the United Arab Emirates. How are you looking at this market?
I mean, we were here last year for this event. This is always one of my favorite events because you have such a diverse audience, people coming in from like the kind of surrounding kind of regions and countries, and I think it's a great mix of people that actually use crypto. So I think a lot more people coming up and saying, hey, I've been using your wallet and I've been running into this, right? Which at some conference people are just there to pick up the swag, right? And like, it's really great to see that actually people here are using the products. There's builders, many people moved to especially Dubai and Abu Dhabi as kind of hubs for projects. So for us, I think it's really important to be here, to show up here, I think that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
So imagine we're sitting at this desk a year from now. Mm-hmm. You have rolled out the partnership even bigger. What do you think that the headline's going to be based on the results of what you're going to see?
Can I talk about the gold thing?
Please.
Yeah. What do you think?
Please.
So Tether Gold just launched in MiniPay just a few weeks ago, and it already has more users than it has had on Ethereum through its life of how many years? Maybe a few years that it's been live there, right? So that's the power of Opera, of MiniPay distribution. And I think a year from now, we'll be seeing probably quite a few surprises of applications that have broken through because of MiniPay distribution, of definitely the high level numbers. I mean, so far there've been over 300 million transactions through MiniPay. That's a massive number, right? I mean, that is not something we've really seen in crypto before, right? Having witnessed all the different stages. So I think we'll be surprised next year, and I think there's probably going to be things which we think will move faster and other things that will move slower, but I think there's now a platform, and it will also be to the builders, right, to kind of build interesting applications that are now they can put in front of this kind of audience.
I also think, just to end this, Celo is an OG network. You guys have been doing this for a long time. You've put in the work to understand how to do this stuff compared to a lot of the folks who in the stablecoin business or the payments business who've come in the last year.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, we've been following for a long time. But I do think having folks like Celo, folks like Opera who understand their markets and their lanes so well are what brings the people in, because there's a trust there that you can't earn just by saying, hey, we raise some VC capital, right? You guys have the relationships, you're building the products work. I love what you just said about Tether Gold. I think it's such a great example of when the infrastructure works, then it becomes easy. And you don't have to think about all the use cases now that we have to rethink. You've done that work. So I just want to give you kudos to both of you for getting us there.
We are just quick comment. You talked about Celo being an OG. Opera as a company, we're also an OG browser company. We just celebrated 30-year anniversary a couple of years ago.
Congratulations.
Opera's been around. All respect to Opera for sure.
All right. Cool. Well, you heard it here first. We only have the OGs at the desk.
That's right.
Renee, Jorgen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For
Thanks
joining
for having us. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
That was Renee Reinsberg, co-founder of Celo, and Jorgen Arnesen, EVP of Mobile at Opera. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Binance.
Hello and welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. We're now joined by Ian DeBode, who is Ondo Finance's president. He's working to bridge institutional grade assets to global blockchain users. Ian, I think you got a promotion since we last chatted.
I did, thank you very much.
Well, welcome, President. Let's talk about you being here at Binance Blockchain Week. Ondo recently launched tokenized stocks and ETFs within the Binance wallet.
That's
Talk
right.
to us about that.
Yeah, we launched tokenized stocks in the Binance wallet last week. So now all of Binance Wallet's users, about 280 million people, I think, have access to US stocks and ETFs 24/7 whenever they want.
This seems to be a trend that a lot of people are on. How do we think this is going to play out on the regulatory side? And I only say that because I think that, we saw sort of the public stuff that was happening with Tesla and OpenAI future stocks were being traded. Do we need a little bit more of an understanding of how this stuff works, or should we just consider it's a stable coin? We got a stock in a bank somewhere, and you get to buy a share of it.
Yeah, so it's a good point. We obviously welcome more regulatory clarity. Our assets right now are issued outside of the US. A lot of the conversation on tokenized stocks is happening within the US market. So we're talking about outside the US right now, where a lot of things, quite frankly, are already possible. Our assets are issued under Swiss law. There's a prospectus in the EU. Outside the US, there are some regulatory frameworks that we can follow. We're fully compliant with those. All of our assets are fully backed. So when you buy a Tesla token, you can rest assured that there's a Tesla stock sitting in a brokerage account. So none of the OpenAI difficulties that we saw with some of our competitors. And we've seen very good traction so far of the product. Like, users really want access to these stocks 24/7, because outside the US in particular, there really is a large user base that historically has struggled to get access to US stocks and ETFs. And now on blockchain rails, they can do that very seamlessly with stablecoins 24/7.
Can you, just follow up, make the case for us why it's better to buy a tokenized stock than a real stock?
Yeah, I mean, with a real stock,
quote unquote, yes, of course,
in a brokerage account, you are essentially locked into your platform.
Correct.
Right? You cannot transfer these assets out between various different brokerages. You can't transfer it into a Binance wallet whenever you want to. So a lot of people are just used to an experience in the brokerage app that is very closed. That means that whatever is available in your brokerage app, that's what you have, and your margin rate that you can get is what it is, right? When you tokenize these things, all of a sudden you can transfer it very freely between the various platforms. You can even take it into your Binance wallet whenever you want to. You can transfer them around 24/7. You can use them in DeFi. So it just becomes a much more seamless experience, kind of what people are now used to with a stablecoin. It's kind of like, why is a stablecoin better than a bank deposit? Well, at least it's one-for-one backed, for one. And you can freely transfer it whenever you want to, use it however you want to. Same thing applies to tokenized stocks and ETFs.
We're sitting here in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. How are you looking at this region? Why is it important for Ondo to have a presence here?
Yeah, we focus quite a bit on non-US markets for access to these stocks. As mentioned, we believe fundamentally there's a very large user group that wants access to US capital markets, but historically has struggled. And it's the same markets where you've seen stablecoin adoption really leapfrog, because people want access to that US dollar and use it seamlessly. Those are the markets that we are targeting for our tokenized stocks and ETFs. And obviously the Middle East, with the capital flow that it has, and them trying to attract more crypto players, is a very important region for us, particularly with a lot of the crypto exchanges now moving here. It's really them as distribution partners that are very relevant to Ondo Finance. We expect, quite frankly, that a lot of the crypto exchanges are going to start listing stocks and ETFs. Right now, there's this very weird split in asset classes. Either you have a brokerage account for stocks and ETFs, or you have a crypto exchange account for crypto, right? There's very few platforms that truly offer both with a lot of breadth in their offering, but we believe that's going to change in 2026 A lot of those crypto exchanges are here, so that's why we're here trying to convince them of the benefits of tokenized stocks. And that's exactly why this Binance Wallet partnership is so exciting for us.
The thing that really unlocks, as you talk about this, Ian, is, I think about, the analogy I used to talk a lot about was the wire transfer, right? It's going to take 2 or 3 days, you're going to get fees all over the place.
100%.
And we know someone's just making money on that float. And that really was, in a digital world, it was still very analog money. My E-Trade account feels very similar, right? I sell something, it takes amount of time to settle, then I have to wait a couple days before they'll transfer it to my bank account.
100%.
So what you're saying is, I can do this at the speed of light.
100%.
And that's that's miraculous. I also think about the idea that money is still control, as we know, and from the governmental side, but we go to the Ondo Finance Summit, which we were at with you guys, and you have the who's who of TradFi there. They really want to play this game.
They do.
So are they comfortable with that sort of loss of control that might have come with the JP Morgans or some of the other big players by saying, hey, we get to access this giant world of people who really just want to play the game with us?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they're very excited by it because they don't want to make the same mistake as they did with stablecoins, right? Stablecoins were essentially formed completely outside of TradFi. Obviously, the reserves are being kept in TradFi. But the distribution of a stablecoin to these global users and the growth until $300 billion or so, they largely missed. And so they look at Ondo Finance and the tokenization technology really as a way to say, okay, if you put these assets on chain, all of a sudden you can distribute them a lot more freely to a global user base. It just becomes another distribution channel for them. And if you're an asset manager right now, you're used to working with various different distribution channels via traditional brokerage accounts. So for a lot of these asset managers, they just look at public blockchain rails as another distribution channel, and we just happen to be the engine that puts these assets on there and then distributes it for them. So they kind of get it, quite frankly, and they're not opposed to it at all.
Sam talks about a loss of control. I imagine there's a loss of money when it comes to fees. Is there, or are the fee structures similar?
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper to buy tokenized stocks than it is in many countries to buy it from a brokerage account, quite frankly. If you look at some of the fees that are being charged globally on some of these products, for an American, it's absurd.
Right.
So really, what we're just doing is putting these assets on crypto rails with zero commission, free trading, etc., making that available to a global audience and really giving everyone access. To your point, I'm sure that may eat into the margin of some local players, but that's where the opportunity for these crypto exchanges and other distribution platforms really lie, is to give everyone free access to these stocks and ETFs.
You guys have come such a long way since even we spoke to you a year ago. Where are you going to be in 2027? How much of the global equities market do you think going to be tokenized?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'm not sure, if I'm being honest, but you are correct. The growth we've seen is pretty spectacular. I think when I joined Ondo almost 2 years ago, we were at 200 million in TVL. Now we're coming up on 2 billion in TVL.
So it's a 10x.
So 10x more or less. The asset classes of tokenized treasuries went from $1 billion or so to now almost 10 billion. And in tokenized stocks, we're really by far the leader. I think we have 60% market share or something. So I do expect that growth to continue. 2026 will definitely be the year of tokenized stocks. We've seen a little bit of that in 2025 now with the Robinhood announcement, Kraken just announcing they're taking over Bakkt, and with the X stocks. So I think that trend will continue in 2026. 2027, I think the sky ultimately is the limit. People in crypto are not used to the size of traditional financial markets, so how big this can really become, who knows, but it's quite big. And in terms of what's next, tokenizing stocks, I think, was really just the first step that you do. Now that you have these things freely transferable 24/7 on crypto rails, how you think about asset management, how you think about investment strategies, all of that is really about to change, quite frankly, in a very big way, and in a way that a lot of people, particularly in traditional finance, aren't really ready for.
Predictions is one of the themes on this broadcast here today. What gets tokenized next, Ian?
I mean, we're already very happy to focus on the 1,000 or so stocks in ETFs. We got right now we're at 100, so I'll be very happy if we hit 1,000 next year. So we've got our work cut out, but yeah, we're very excited for what's to come.
Ian, it's always a pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian.
That was Ondo Finance President Ian DeBode. We are going to chat now.
Let's do it.
Let's chat.
All right, I feel like we are seeing some themes start to come out, Jen, that we should have a chat. Not just the prediction market one that we're trying to make happen.
I am not trying to make that happen.
I said
Tim. It
we're,
is
not
happening.
you.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that we are really seeing, as we've seen this whole year, the maturation of the industry.
The adults are in the room.
The adults are in the room. I think that when I think of Renee and Jorgen and the Opera conversation. Opera is a browser that's been around for 30 years. It's beloved by a lot of its users. It doesn't have the scale that a Firefox has, but it has hundreds of millions of users. And they've done a great job at focusing on kind of not the US markets really, but the LATAMs, the Southeast Asias, the Africas. So when we talk about who needs these rails the most, perfect partnership and opportunity. So I think one is just the fact that 2 years ago, if we were at Consensus 3 years ago, when we asked most people how many users, we would be talking about tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. Now we get to talk about millions. That's pretty exciting. We think about Ian right now. We just had the conversation with Ondo, which really is a rocket ship of a product that, to me, has such a wide opportunity. They have to execute, and they've been doing a great job so far. Hopefully, they'll continue. But to his point, just outside of the U.S., being able to put a fraction of Tesla, in a wallet is just such a big concept that people here want access to. And I think about what we had to go through hurdle-wise just to be able to become an investor on certain platforms back in the day, and now taking those barriers away is just such a big thing. So to me, there's a lot of stuff here that we're seeing that is about tokenization, that is about RWAs, that is about how do we just bring in the masses. And the next piece I'm really interested in is the cultural side, because culture is one that I think got lost a little bit in the 2022-23 kind of dips. I think we're starting to see it in this part of the world, Asia. This is where it all happens, so that's my lane.
I mean, you talk about culture day in, day out on CoinDesk, and you're having these conversations, and what that I think says to me, and it says to our audience, is the culture is still here. The culture is what really informs a lot of the things that we are talking about, but maybe the culture is here in a different way. The narrative is maybe a little bit different than we've seen in the past, and so it's easy to feel like the culture of the past is lost. I think it's just changed, and it's still very much driving the industry.
Culture is driving in the industry within communities, yes.
Yeah.
And our next guest is going to be a great person to talk about with that. But I also think as we sit here, for example, it's really the largest ever exhibition of digital-based art happening at the main Art Basel tent in Art Basel in Miami. And we were talking about the top digital artists in the world at the showcase of art in North America. So I look at that and I say, there's something really cool happening there, even where we can look at the big money in art is today walking around looking and saying, what is this guy Beeple doing? Or what is this guy Sam Spratt doing? And that to me is a pretty cool thing. In the same way that you could look at Opera and say, oh, I can take stable coins. In the same way that we can say, oh, what do you mean I can monetize a meme, like we'll talk about with our next guest. There's so many opportunities for the cultural memetics of conversation, of communities to come on chain, and that's what I'm really excited to talk about with Kevin.
All right, let's get to Kevin now, Chief Business Officer of Memeland. Kevin Kwong joins us at the desk. Hello.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me here. Lovely to see you guys.
Pleasure, Lovely to see you here. I got to say, there are a lot of memeable moments that could happen here on the showroom floor. So talk to me about your experience of Binance Blockchain Week so far and what you've been up to.
This is our second year here. Last year we have Hide the Pain Hero at the event. Great cultural icon, lots of people lining up with photos of. So this year, unfortunately, he couldn't make it. But again, I think this year we have a lot of new IP that we're just launching with our own. So the Potato IP, we just launched it from our NFT series. It's coming on live as our real product coming out just next week in Hong Kong. So exciting for that as well.
Tell us about the Potato IP.
So I think the NFTs Potato has been around since 2 years ago when we first launched it. That we have been doing a lot of different things with that online. But since I think moving on to the last few months, we do want to transfer that into real world. So we're actually having that real Potato IP in real plushie product. And there's a bunch of different things it's launching in the next few months. So.
I've spoken to Ray many times, and I think what you guys have been doing with 9gag, with Memeland, really trying to push the technology forward, and continually doing so. You guys didn't shy away when the market was dipping. So now that there's starting to be a resurgence in it, I know you have this new Ace Trader product, which really seems to be kind of training people to understand what trading is.
It is.
And everyone is a trader, whether they know it or not. So give us a little bit of a primer of what Ace Trader is.
So Ace Trader is a prop trading ecosystem platform. So the reason we want to build that is that at 9gag we have over 200 million users. Yeah. But out of that, maybe like 1 to 2% are really into Web3 trading. So obviously we have Memeland, we have about 10 million users that's really into the whole Web3 trading token. They know the environment very well. But we got the majority of the users, the 200 million and more in the world, that they don't know. So we want to have a product to actually bring them into the world to see how it works. So to get them onto a SAX or a DAX, this could be too risky for them. So we want to say, hey, how can we actually get them into the ecosystem, into the environment in a safe ways, and they can learn from it. So then we're, hey, why don't we build a product, Ace Trader, where people can subscribe only $9 a month, it's very, very affordable, and then they can have credit to actually try trading in the real world. So the platform is built on a hyperliquid code base, so people can get familiar with the tools, the features, and how it works on the system. And then you can really bring them up one by one.
What's that future you're building towards? Talk to me a little bit about the intersection of culture, trading, social. Like, what is that vision that keeps you getting up every morning and building these products?
I think it's the fun part of having the culture to bring people together, get them to kind of coexist in the same environment, the same type of thinking mentality. And the next step, actually building a real product that they can actually benefit from it, from real world, either TrackFi world or even the Web3 world. I think just having that IP culture just to get people gathered around on the same page is really important. And it's a great tool to get them all together. But I think the important part is having that as a momentum, as a first step. But the next step is where the key part is, what can we do with this group of users, where they're just looking from the outside? How can we bring them on board to engage with more than just looking at memes? I mean, that's just the first step. So having the Ace Trader, a real product to really engage them, is what we're looking to do.
I just want to touch on Ace Trader, take this step further. That capital that they get to trade with, what happens if they lose it all? Or what happens if they are able to make money? Do they get to keep it? How does that work?
So we have 3 different levels, from $9, $69 to $169. If you're in the basic level, you just have a small amount of virtual money to trade. If you lose them all, obviously there's nothing wrong. But the whole team will monitor all the profile. If you get to a certain level, we see you're in the positive certain lines, we actually will give you real money to trade in your account. After that, we have revenue share with the user. Okay. So the whole key is that, hey, we don't want to hear an excuse of, hey, you can't trade because you don't have equity. You can really do it. Come join the program. We'll give you real money to trade, and then you can actually take profit from that. So that's the whole goal of grooming up the next traders.
What I love about the theory of this, and we'll see how it rolls out over the next couple of years, but what I love is this is very much about how digital poker became so popular. You had a lot of people who are just playing games in essence, which you spend a little bit of money, you get to participate in kind of the equivalent of tournaments or whatever it may be, and the winner gets to get a little something. That was really a gateway to then people trying to understand, there's a lot of strategy behind this. How do I learn those strategies? How do I develop? Then I start playing my home games. Then I start utilizing sort of the more sophisticated platforms for playing the game. And it really created the digital poker boom, which I think if we look at the fact that the internet has allowed all of us to become gamers, all of us to become traders, all of us to sort of get the information and really decide the world that we want to live in, these are the primitives that actually help get us there. And what I love what you said before is you have 9gag that's 200 million users. You have Memeland that's 10 million users. All you need are a couple percentage points of each of those to get people to say, there's something fun here. And the fun does not have to be I'm making a lot of money. The fun can be I'm learning something. I'm playing in something. Exactly. I'm using the IP and the characters I love. I want to just have fun within it. And then some of those people are going to be just really good at it. And they're going to say, this is the thing for me. It doesn't have to be for everybody.
Sure. I think right now we just launched a beta version for a few weeks, and we have a few hundred people trying it out, and we already see the top, let's say 2% of them are trading really well. And I can imagine we have got more and more users on board. You imagine we have 100,000 of millions of users. The top 1% can be real professional traders. And we really hope that these people come out and actually be in the ecosystem. And like I said, even if they don't, just to learn the whole crypto world, trading how it works, is already beneficial.
I want to bring the conversation back to culture as we wrap this up here.
Yeah.
Sam and I were talking about some of our predictions and how we think that the culture hasn't gone away for crypto. It's just been quietly building and quietly shifting. Talk to us about your reflection on 2025. What were some of those big cultural drivers for you that you think are going to take us in 2026?
For us, I think we actually, at Neiman, we invest a lot. One of the things we did is actually into Pokemon cards. So in Hong Kong, we actually just hosted one of the biggest Pokemon trading card last week. And we actually bought 888 of one of the cards to put into the RWA product. So we think that having this culture product into the Web3 world will be very, very significant in 2026.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us at the desk.
Thank
It was
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
That was Memeland Chief Business Officer Kevin Kwong. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more from Binance Blockchain Week.
Join me on Binance.
Welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. Our next guest joins us now, the CEO of Onchain data and analytics platform, Nansen, Alex Spanovic. Alex, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Nice to meet you in person.
Likewise.
That's what I love about these events. We get to meet all of our friends from the internet, IRL.
Yeah, we exist.
Yes.
We're not robots.
We're real people.
Proof of human.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a robot, but yeah.
All right, I know you're speaking on a panel. It's called A New Way to Trade, Optimizing AI and Data. Give us a little bit of a preview. What do you want folks to take away from that talk?
Yeah, I think generally the one thing that I'm focused on right now and the whole team is focused on is agentic trading.
Yeah.
And so we think that people are actually going to trade in a different way going forward. I think it starts 2026. I'm sure a lot of others are going to pursue the same opportunity. But I'm sure when you use software today, you mostly, or to a large extent, you use AI, like interfacing with products. And I think the same thing is going to happen with investing and trading. And so instead of having like lots of dashboards and charts and tables get really overwhelming, you just talk to an agent that you can work with end to end on discovery, due diligence, and ultimately to actually execute trades. And so for us, the new thing that's coming very soon to Nansen is that you can indeed execute the trades on chain through our product. And so I think a lot of people will think differently about the product. We're not just an analytics product, we're actually an on-chain product more broadly. So.
Will the trading platform have an agentic AI component where I can speak to my AI companion and...
It's amazing. So, are you guys familiar with vibe coding? Right? Like you use.
How could we avoid vibe coding?
Well,
yes.
Nansen is creating vibe trading.
Vibe trading.
So imagine that you can just talk to the agent and figure out what are people doing on chain. What is smart money buying? You know, this token here, what's the deal with these addresses? Why is this address selling? Why is this buying? And you can kind of go through all that with the agent, and then within the same user experience, you can actually pull the trigger. And so that's kind of how you should think about it conceptually. It's a new way to trade. It's not really based on kind of UIs, lots of clicks and all that stuff. You just talk to the agent. And so, yeah.
All right, so first of all, let's recognize we got some alpha here.
Yeah.
Nansen coming into the trading ecosystem, going to have a lot of competitors going on, but also a real top tier analytics engine. We've used Nansen for a long time, of trying to understand what's happening on the blockchain. Then you get to trade on that information. Sounds like I could speak to it and say, hey, I'm really interested in what these types of people are doing, what these types of wallets are doing, how these tokens are going to perform over the next, and it'll, in essence, build me a portfolio.
Yes.
Based on that. How do you think the normal world, who likes to think they're smarter than the robots, how do you think they're going to take to AI trading? For me, it's always been a natural that, of course, the machines will be better than we are. But there's an ego element.
That's right.
Here.
I think, again, to draw the analogy to coding, right? You can think about what Cursor and Bolt and Lovable and these products have done. I think, number one, they've made existing engineers more productive, the people who have embraced coding with AI. But they've also opened up coding to people who aren't engineers. And so I think, similarly, agentic trading is going to make existing traders better at trading, hopefully, and investing. But it's also going to make investing and trading accessible to 100 times more people. Because if you've ever tried to onboard a normie to on-chain trading, like they might be able to do Binance, Coinbase, right, centralized exchange trading, but if you get them on-chain with their own wallet and like a DEX, it's actually extremely confusing, and the user experience is very fragmented, right? You go on a DEX, that's confusing, I connect my wallet. If you're on mobile, you have to go and sign it in a different app. So we've thought, what does trading look like in 2030, and how do we build that user experience today? And so the difference with Nansen is that, number one, it's fully on-chain. Number two, it's agentic, right? And number three, it's actually a self-custodial wallet. So it's not like a centralized exchange. We don't have the private key. We're not a custodian. We're a technology service provider. And you can export the funds if you want to. And so I think we're going to be part of a cohort of new or next generation trading products. And I think a lot of them are going to come to market in 2026. Every trading product should be pursuing agentic trading. And I think we have an edge because we have such great data. We have the best on-chain data in the world. And so we can give that directly to our users in this product.
I gotta ask you, I think everyone watching, I've experienced this when I use AI, sometimes the AI hallucinates.
Oh, great question.
How do you think about these AI agents potentially hallucinating, giving incorrect information that then informs someone's investment thesis?
Totally, so you have to quality assure this stuff. You have to run evals, right? Evaluations of the agent and how it does. We run our own evals on a bunch of different dimensions. Hallucinations. Does it understand the trade intent from the prompt you give? Does it actually bring relevant data? Does it format the output well? So we run evals on all of these things for all of the messages we get. We have our own kind of ground truth data set that we run evals against. And so again, if you think, what is 2026 going to look like? You're going to have a bunch of agentic trading products. And frankly, most of them are going to suck, if we're being honest. People are going to lose money, and they're going to be frustrated because there's hallucination going on. There's like poor quality user experiences. And so our bet is that because we have the best data and we have a great AI team internally, and we have a trusted brand, people are going to want to use our product. That's basically the thesis.
So I like to think about this in the model of like, this is Moneyball for finance, right? You now suddenly have an unbelievable analyst who can look and say, all these different data points can come in, they can inform how do we create the best team, our team being our portfolio. I get worried when I think of AI, same way I worry about prediction markets, how can those be gamed, right? If someone knows where you're pulling your data from, how does someone subtly start to push some data there that they know I'm doing a long play here to then be able to game the system? How are you preventing those who might have enough to deploy or enough to sort of train your AI without you even knowing it's being trained to make decisions that in the long run someone's then going to pull a trade against?
I think the short answer, it comes back to these evals. You have to run religiously evals and quality assurance in-house.
Yeah.
We've also been investing a lot in security in-house. I think anyone who does anything with AI has to acknowledge that it introduces a new threat vector in terms of attacks, and so you need to be very careful with that, not just on vibe trading, but also vibe coding.
Yeah.
Right? If someone manages to get Claude Code or Cursor to inject some bad code into your code base, that could be devastating. So this is generally a problem for all AI usage. So we run evals, we've invested a lot more in security, we're getting new certifications. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things we're doing.
Alex, before we let you go, we are in the UAE. Talk to us a little bit about why this market is important. We know you pull a lot of great data from here, so maybe even lean on some of that data. What are you seeing when it comes to the Middle East?
Yeah, we have a lot of users here. We've actually had some team members relocate to this region. And so we're super bullish on the region overall. I've engaged with some of the regulators here, and they're incredibly forward-leaning and intelligent. It's striking, actually. I think maybe some of the best regulators in the world are based here. So it's a really exciting part of the world, and I'd love to do more business here, frankly.
Alex, thanks so much for joining us at the desk and giving us that alpha. I think our audience is probably really loving it right now. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Alex, thanks so much.
Thank you.
That was Nansen CEO Alex Svenovic. All right, Sam, we have come to the end of our broadcast from Binance Blockchain Week, day one. Although we're coming to an end, the event is still going on. So I look forward to getting in that bungee cord. But talk to me a little bit about some of the things you're taking away and going to think about into our broadcast tomorrow.
Well, first of all, it flew today. I really feel like it went very.
The conversations were fantastic.
The conversations were fantastic. We spoke to some great people. We still have not had a CZ sighting. We still did not have a Michael Saylor sighting. I heard him.
We heard him.
But we did not get to see him. So I'm hoping, tomorrow maybe we can get a little cameo from one of these guys.
I'm hoping that too.
So we're gonna, we'll work on that on the back end. But no, look, there's the place is packed. We're at the Coca-Cola Arena here in Dubai. It's a busy, loud, fun environment. A lot of activity, a lot of excitement on the floor. I'm sort of excited to hear. Actually, after we close up, walk the floor a little bit, see what's going on, and really help inform us, because I think you've been asking the right question to every one of our guests, which is why UAE, why Dubai, and I need to learn more about this market. I feel like even though I've been here a few times, I don't get the flavor of it enough, other than people saying I get to save on tax.
Yeah.
And but I know it's a lot more than that. I know people are building actively here. There's a lot of great crypto companies who are based in the UAE. And specifically in Dubai, and I want to just know more about them.
We heard a few of our guests talk about the DMCC. That is where all the crypto not all of them, but a lot of crypto companies are based. They really do have a strong community here. The DMCC was involved in the crypto legislation book that we spoke about with Arena. We heard from Alex that some of the best regulators, in his opinion, are here, and so I look forward to maybe having conversations with them, hearing what they have to say on some of the stages. But you want to know who else I'm looking forward to hearing from?
Tell me more.
Tom Lee. Tom Lee is here. He has some outrageous predictions as to where Bitcoin and ETH could be at the end of the year. I think they are quite more optimistic than both the predictions you and I gave. I think I said $110,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You said $99,000 Bitcoin. I'm not sure what Tom Lee's prediction is. I feel like his prediction is a new all-time high by the end of the year, which I think we're running out of time.
I mean, are we finding Tom Lee, or are we going to...
I hope to find Tom Lee and ask him. Even if he can't come to the desk,
we're going to get a quote.
Yes, we have phones, we have cameras in our pockets. We will get that for you.
Yes, Tom is definitely around. There's a lot of these people here. Rachel Conlon is speaking right now, CMO of Binance. She'll be here tomorrow. I'm really actually interested in hearing from her where Binance goes. They're number one exchange right now. But look, they have Coinbase chomping at their feet. They got Kraken coming up still. There's a lot of people who are coming for the Binance mantle. I think they're not going to let it go easily. So I'm interested to see where that goes. What else? I said, what am I looking for? I want to know what people are doing to invest in the future of this industry that gets us beyond short-term hype.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we suffer too much. Yes, we love a prediction. Predictions do well for us at CoinDesk.
We love a prediction, but it's not all about
It's not all about predictions. I want to know what, when we talked with Cello and Opera, I love the way that they're thinking about it. I love that they've spent the years that it took to get 10 million people on, and that is going to get us to the next layer of the audience. I look forward so much to an opportunity when we're not talking about tokenization, when we're not talking about layer 2s and layer 1s, and we're closer than ever.
Yeah, and I think it's about 10 million real people, and real users, not fair weather users who are going to try something out because there's hype, or going to buy something because there's some hype behind it, or their friend told them, or they think they're going to get rich quick. They're real products being built for real people who have real problems. That's something you and I talk a lot about as we travel around the world. And those are the projects with staying power. Those are the ones that are going to change the world and bring the next billion users to crypto, because those billion users need crypto.
Do they need crypto, or do they need better systems?
They need a solution.
Yes.
Right? And crypto is presenting that solution. The systems that are available to them haven't presented those solutions, haven't been incentivized to present those solutions.
And you spoke about this earlier. There was a couple of outages recently, AWS,
Cloudflare.
And Cloudflare. And when we spoke to Avery, and he was talking about, we could look at the idea of decentralized storage systems that won't have the failure rates, because there's so many systems that are redundant, and building that. People have come to expect that I can go to one place, get it all, and get it cheaply. And that's great in the abstract. In the reality, it's cool until your system goes down, like Twitter did for 8 hours or whatever it may be. That's a big challenge, right? Some people rely on these systems, and if it's a financial system or it's a communication system, they need them to work. And to me, I think we underplay the opportunity that open source brings, underplay the opportunity that decentralization plays. It is the birthplace of the internet, happened in decentralized systems. Web 2 convinced us that it was the way to go and everything should be centralized. I think we are tearing that apart, going back to decentralization, and to me, that's where the excitement is.
Something I asked Ahmed from KYD Labs when you and I were in London was, is there a place for Ticketmaster in the future that you're building towards? And he said yes. And so something that I'm really interested in exploring as we head into the new year, as we have more of these conversations all over the world, is how the centralized players are looking at the technology or looking at the innovation, and whether or not they're willing to play. We're seeing it. We spoke with Ian from Ondo Finance. The big asset managers like Franklin Templeton, obviously BlackRock, are looking at ways to participate because they see if they don't, they're going to get left behind. And that reminds me of the Blockbuster booth we had at Consensus last year in Hong Kong.
It wasn't a Blockbuster booth, it was a take on a Blockbuster booth.
It looked like Blockbuster.
But yes, we also had a DeLorean, so I mean,
we did.
We're very nostalgic here at Consensus and CoinDesk. But first of all, thank you to Cello for bringing us over here, Binance for bringing us over here, and this has been a great day one. Really looking forward to day two. Jen, bring us out.
All right, that is a wrap for us here on day one at Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. We're going to hit the showroom floor and check out what's going on for Sam Ewan. I'm Jen Sanasi. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. local time.